All right. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Wisdom, Rising in Consciousness and Mindfulness. I'm Veronica Carrera. I'm the creator and producer of the show. 30 Minutes of Wisdom is about rising in consciousness and connecting to our most authentic self. I actually started this show during the pandemic a few years ago, and we had the show running for almost every week for a couple of years or so. And then I took a hiatus because life got super busy. But I have been meaning to start this show in perfect timing. And then John Jacob and I were talking about a very important subject yesterday, which was unbecoming. And let me introduce with this John Jacob. John Jacob is a great friend. He's an exceptional transformational coach and just like a wonderful human being, a TED Talk speaker. I mean, I can just go on all the wonderful things I can say about you. John Jacob, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit more? I don't know if there's anything else you want to say before we pretty much start the whole conversation.
I'm so grateful to be here, and I love you, and you have been an instrumental figure in my growth and transformation, and so I'm grateful. I'm well, I introduce myself a little bit more. I'm so grateful that I get to, you know, the distance between what I have to do and what I want to do is really narrow. And I think that is one of the greatest gifts of life. And so I get to be an agape licensed spiritual practitioner, which is a spiritual therapist. I get to facilitate breath work. I get to be the lead instructor and facilitator at Rhythmia Life Advancement Center for the last 8 years. I get to lead retreats in Peru and Costa Rica and lead retreats for LGBTQ as well as for all other individuals. I get to do TED Talks and speak. I mean, like, I'm so grateful and so thankful that life is expressing itself and I get to experience myself as sharing my gifts and talents in the most authentic way. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to do so here. Thank you, Vero.
Thank you, John Jacob. We are so honored to have you here on this show. Now, you and I talked about this meaningful and powerful topic of unbecoming. First, just share a little bit more. What does unbecoming mean? Especially because we live in a world where becoming more of is what we are encouraged to do. I need to be more successful. I need to be more in shape. I need to be more a better partner. I need to be more of everything. And it's this never ending quest of achieving something, and sometimes it can be pretty tiring and
Yeah.
draining. But so, what do you mean by unbecoming?
So unbecoming is, well, I agree with you. You know, we do spend so much of our life trying to become more focused, more productive, more spiritual, more successful. But unbecoming is where I think real transformation occurs. And unbecoming is the process that I discovered through a mastermind that we were in together. And it's not about fixing yourself. It's about letting go of limiting stories and remembering who we really are. I think that's one of my biggest messages is it's time for us to remember who we really are. The noble kings and queens, creators of our life experience. We're not victims to anything. We're not controlled by circumstance or condition or anything outside of us. We're creating our lives. Now, what are we going to create? So unbecoming, is the process of excavating all the things that we're not, the limiting stories and beliefs, so that we can really shine forth inherently who we are. I used to think that my best self was out there somewhere, right? Like probably hiding somewhere between a meditation retreat and a vision board,
Yeah.
but the real shift for me came not from a mountaintop realization, but through these raw human emotions of jealousy and envy, right? That nobody's really putting on their highlight reel. So it was like life held up a giant mirror to me at one point and said, like, hey, buddy, do you want to deal with this now, or should I bring it back again in like 5 years? You know, like questionable tattoo, midlife crisis, divorce, your call. You know, I had one of those moments in the mastermind, and we were together, a group of friends that I highly respect, and as two of our friends, people that I love and adore, were sharing about their project, I noticed this feeling of like resentment coming up towards them, resentment and cynicism. And it felt like, you know, my inner Simon Cowell kicked in, and it was like, nobody's going to go for that. Nobody's signing up for that. That's never going to work, you know? And underneath the feeling of resentment, I noticed something else, you know, this feeling of jealousy and envy. I was secretly hoping my friends wouldn't succeed, you know, and that's jealous and envious. Now, envy says, I want what you, jealousy is like, I want what you have. Envy says, I want what you have, but if I can't have it, I don't want you to have it. And so in that moment, I knew that there was something underneath that jealousy and envy, and it was a deeper sadness and a feeling, a familiar feeling of being left behind. And that's the process. That's when I sat with those feelings and I asked myself, what am I supposed to learn from this? And as I sat with them, two core memories came flooding back. And this was the beginning of the process of unbecoming. I'm going to pause right there and just see if you had a question or if I should continue.
Yes. Okay, so you're talking about this experience where I remember because we were doing a mastermind. I believe in this whole concept of mastermind to help I mean the people you love, I mean the people that inspire you also, how you can inspire each other together, to rise. And I remember us being in that conversation, and then suddenly I saw your energy to shifting. And I asked you, John Jacob, like, what is it that, what's shifting right here? What are you feeling? And then you were so open, vulnerable, truthful. And right there in this intimate group of friends, it was like 4 or 5 of us that we're doing this mastermind with. You share exactly what you share now. Hey, this is what I'm feeling, but I love you immensely. I have no reasons to be envious or jealous, but there's something else underneath. So talk to us a little bit more than what was behind that jealousy and in that moment that we all feel. You're
Yeah.
just courageous enough to say it. Okay. So kudos to you for that. But you're just courageous and brave, and you show us the way to be, because to me, that's spiritual.
Yes.
That's spiritual, when you can be courageous enough to show your shadows and trust your friends with your shadows, and to say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Let's go beneath the surface. So tell us a little bit more, because perhaps those who are listening or who will listen to this later can understand themselves a little bit more.
Thank you. You know, and I have to say, it felt so scary in that moment, right? Even though I said it, I was like, okay, I'm being open and vulnerable. I hope they see this as open and vulnerable and not like, oh, what a loser. Like, he's supposed to be this spiritual teacher and he's feeling jealousy and envy. Like, come on, you know? And that's what I was feeling like, what's wrong with me? But as I sat with those feelings and stripped away the words and just felt like our feelings have a vibrational frequency. And when I sat with the feelings and stripped away the words, there was a signature to that feeling, and it felt familiar, and it brought two core memories back. And so the memories are, the first
What were
memory,
those memories? Yeah.
I was 6 years old, and my sister was in her high school production of Oliver Twist, and my parents took me to see the play, and I was, in the audience, and the curtain went up, and when the curtain went up, all of my neighborhood friends, from the neighborhood, they were playing the young orphans on stage, and I was like, what? Their older sisters and brothers must have told them about the play and how to be in it, and my sister didn't tell me. I was just sitting there going, why am I why am I not up there? And I knew even at that age, right? Like if anyone should be on that stage, it's me. I want to be on stage. So that memory left an imprint. It implanted a belief that I get left behind. And it was the same feeling that I had in listening to our friends share about their project and all the success they were having. And the second memory that came back was of a Saturday afternoon. My brothers and father and I were doing yard work, and I was too young. I was the youngest, so I couldn't use power tools. And so my job was to clean up after they cut and trimmed and did everything. And I was there cleaning up everything. It took me hours, but I had one thing that was like holding me, motivating me that day. My mom bought donuts, and we never had like store-bought stuff. My mom was sweet and cooked everything, baked everything, but we had donuts, and I was like, I want that donut. And they told me, my brother said, you can't have the donut until you finish your work. So hours later, when I finished everything, I went running to the kitchen to get my donut, and my brothers had eaten my donut, right? Like, okay, John, your brother ate your donut. Like, come on, seriously? But that moment left a mark too. While it wasn't a villain origin story, it certainly left a mark. And the mark it left on me was no matter how hard I try, someone else will take it. Now, it really, your story might be different. Maybe your brother was a jerk, or maybe you were the bench warmer or the backup friend, or no matter how hard you tried, it was never good enough. Or maybe you had to be a parent when you were still a kid, or maybe you always felt like an outsider, included, but never the favorite. The thing is, it doesn't matter if your childhood was picture perfect or pure chaos, because we've all got a story that leaves a mark. And somewhere along the way, we picked up these beliefs that I'm not enough, I don't belong, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not safe. And instead of feeling those feelings at that time, we got crafty and we created coping mechanisms and armor, really, that was supposed to help us to not feel those uncomfortable feelings. But the truth is, those coping mechanisms didn't really help us. They kept us locked and imprisoned in an old story. And so unbecoming isn't about denying the past. It's about refusing to let it limit our present and our future.
So tell me a little bit more about that, because we talked about this, what just happened during this mastermind and what happens in any professional setting, right? Sometimes because of old wounds or childhood trauma, we can fully show up in the world and we can fully celebrate others, worse alone ourselves. Yeah. Because of this feeling of I'm not enough, and these experiences that we go through, and consciously or subconsciously, they're in our body. Talk to us a little bit more of how that gets stored in the body.
Such a great question. Thank you, Vero. We don't just wake up one day feeling I'm not enough. These stories get wired in over time. And to unbecome them, we really have to understand, where they came from. So like for me, sitting with these, and a lot of us might be like, oh, come on, I didn't get my donut. I wasn't in the play. Like that's my trauma. But trauma isn't what happened. Trauma is the story that we tell ourselves about what happened. So I wasn't reacting to my friend's success. I was time traveling back, front row, Oliver Twist, feeling I get left behind. And for all of us, we think that our triggers and our quirks are just personality traits. Like, oh, I'm just a perfectionist. Oh, I'm just a hard worker. I'm just, I just fly off the handle. I have a big temper, but they're actually those triggers, those personality traits are actually responses to deep emotional wounds. And what looks like people pleasing or perfectionism or addiction or workaholism is really our nervous system saying, our emotional body saying, we're not going to do that pain anymore. And it really starts with the amygdala. And
Ooh.
the amygdala is the part of the brain, it's like the oldest part of the brain. And it's really like the drama queen of the brain, And I also personally think it's a great drag name. I just love drag names. Like,
Okay.
I think that would be a great drag name. Anyway, um, the amygdala stores memories in feelings, not words. And I love the example of we all have a memory of touching a hot stove or a barbecue or something when we were a kid, and we instantly learned never to do that again. The amygdala stores that. It's like seared into our neural pathways. Don't do that. And years later, even when we know the stove is off or the barbecue's not hot, we hesitate. It's an automatic response to touch that. That's how deeply these automatic responses are. The amygdala doesn't know stove is cold. The amygdala just goes hot. And all of a sudden, bam, I'm back in survival mode, overreacting like it's life or death to a group chat or something I'm supposed to respond to in an email, So these automatic responses don't mean we're cursed or broken. It just means we get stuck in this emotional time warp. And the story that we've been telling ourselves, that the emotional body has been telling us, is really overdue for a rewrite. So,
All right. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, to recap, right, it's a chain reaction. We have an experience that creates an emotional wound or an imprint. That experience forms a belief based on that experience. And the belief is, I'm not enough. I get left behind. I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. I don't belong. I'm not worthy. And to not feel that, we create coping mechanisms like hyperachievement or avoidance or people pleasing or addiction, so that we don't feel the pain of those beliefs.
Yeah, very powerful, very powerful. You help me reflect on the aspects of myself and where have I acted this way. I know that for a long time in my life, I had I had to push myself to not just be good enough in something. I always felt like I have to be better than good, because of this identity that I had, or maybe using these identities of myself as a woman of color, who happens to be gay, and all of this, and maybe this sensation that I have to prove something. So if I did something, I must work twice as hard or three times as hard for people to see me and for me to find, only to prove my value. Um, and I wouldn't say that always it was about that, but I know that there were moments that I did feel that. I mean, I was the one who also did an Ironman. I started as a marathoner, and then okay, what is next? Okay, now the triathlon. Now let me do the hardest endurance race in the world and take 17 hours to complete, just because I wanted to prove something. But it was actually, I also want to be very kind to myself, because I also believe in the human capacity to do the impossible. So there were just two thoughts there, that I always thought that we could do the impossible. Uh, and now I'm still unpacking this in myself, okay? But you actually talked to me, because you just did a speech in France, by the way. You just did a TED talk in France. Nice, France. You see, I'm
Yes.
jealous now. Now, this is bringing up some trauma in me. You just went to do a tech talk in France. That's my dream, by the way, to do a tech talk. But you, in this tech talk, you unpack the process of unbecoming. Can you unpack this for us now?
Yes. I want to speak to what you just said, though, because it's not just like who you became because of these traumas isn't bad,
Yeah.
right? It made you a successful, brilliant individual, right? So it's not, we don't want to unbecome those qualities, right? Now, like not feeling good enough and always having to do more and more and more to prove yourself is connected to an emotional wound. We just want to disconnect the emotional wound and leave it in the past, because the qualities that you bring are excellence, right? You bring excellence to everything you do. That's what made you successful in the corporate world. That's what made you, a marathoner and endurance athlete and an author, and like you hold down a lot. And now you're creating this beautiful retreat center and coaching and all of that. And we can't just reduce it to, oh, that's all because you feel not enough. I mean, that's part of the emotional wound. Um, and the trick is, the intention is that whenever you start to feel those feelings, right, that I use a mantra. I use a mantra to help rewire my emotional body, um, especially around feelings of not enoughness and jealousy and envy or feeling left behind. So The mantra calms my emotional body and it redirects my energy away from comparison and victimhood and focuses me on what I want to create. And
Ooh.
this is how we unbecome the false narratives. And there's 4 steps to the unbecoming process. We must first observe, right? We have to notice what we're feeling. And the second thing is to actually feel them. And the third is to ask empowering questions so that we can heal. And the healing comes with the mantra. So I can kind of unpack all that, the 4 steps. And it really, to unbecome, this idea of unbecoming and why it wasn't the only driver in your excellence in life. And I think people who are listening as well, we've all mastered things. We've all become really successful in different parts of our lives. And it's not only predicated on fear, doubt, worry, lack, and limitation. The Buddhists say we're all struggling to become something. We're all struggling to become more of what we already are. And I never understood that. In fact, it kind of made me upset. I was like, how do you become more of what you are, Buddhists? Like I'm already that. And I realized that you become more of what you are by becoming less of what you're not. And then I thought of Michelangelo's statement about David, the beautiful, David statue. And he said, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free. And that's what unbecoming is. We don't have to become anything new. We just need to carve away the stuff that wasn't us. And so this process that was revealed in the mastermind that I've now used with clients and in students, the 4 parts: observe, feel, ask, heal. And the first step is to start noticing patterns, right? We can't change what we don't see. And so when something triggers us, when we're feeling not enough, we notice that feeling of I have to prove myself. Those feelings, if that emotional pattern keeps showing up, it's not random, right? It's an invitation to heal. Like every trigger is our teacher. Every uncomfortable moment is an invitation to heal. And I kind of use the example of I kept dating the same person and wondering why it wasn't working out, that's an emotional pattern. And
Tell me about that. I did that for a long time. Yeah.
Exactly. So my first step in uncovering this process was to realize that the jealousy and envy that I felt for my friend's success wasn't new. It was familiar. And that's when that familiarity was a breadcrumb that led me back to the truth. And so the second step is to feel. So now I've observed this is an emotional pattern that's familiar. Now I got to feel it. And feeling it instead of stuffing it down by, binge watching reality TV and eating ice cream. When I started to feel the jealousy and envy, there was a desire to I don't want to feel this. Let me get out of here. Mm-hmm. But instead of scroll, snack, suppress, I sat with the feelings. And in that stillness, that's when the memories came back, right? The breadcrumbs back home. And once the memories came back, I started asking empowering questions. And asking empowering questions shifts us from victim to creator. And victimhood is really subtle. It's a subtle piece of giving our power away to external circumstance and condition, to people, to things that happened that help us argue for our limitations. But blame keeps us stuck. Asking the right questions is how we take our power back. And so, instead of blaming and resenting my older siblings for the Oliver Twist and donut debacle, which I think we all could agree I would be very justified in doing, I asked the most empowering question of all that I want to give to you and to the listeners is, what does my emotional body need to feel whole and safe and free from this story? Because we all know intellectually, right? Intellectually, I don't have to prove myself. Spiritually that you're whole and complete and perfect just as you are. But emotionally, you feel not enough, right? I wanted the best for my friends intellectually, and spiritually I knew there's only one good. Their good is my good. But emotionally, I was, front row at a play I wasn't in, waiting for a donut I never got. And so the most empowering question is, what does my emotional body need to heal from this? And then the healing became in writing the mantra. And the mantra isn't just a phrase, it's a spell. It's magic. It's a spell of remembrance that steadies my emotional body when fear and doubt and worry and lack and limitation and comparison come knocking. And so a great mantra, when I want to give you 3 tips to writing your mantra, a great mantra does 3 things. First, it affirms your connection with life, with God, with everything. Secondly, it reminds you of your worth and your inherent value. And third, it reclaims your role as creator, as the creator of your life experience. So let's take those one at a time. My first line, I never shared with you my mantra. Okay. So my mantra is,
I
so
thought you
when,
wanted to keep it a secret, but okay,
yes, no,
sure.
that's for me.
Sure.
But when I still feel jealousy and envy, man. I like just scroll through Instagram and watch what people are doing. I look at you like, oh my God, she just bought this mountain and she's building this amazing thing. Like jealousy and envy come up. So my when it comes up, my mantra is, I am connected to everything and everyone. We are one.
Ooh.
In this now moment, I am all that ever was, all that is, and all that ever shall be. I create what I want, and what I want comes to me with ease and grace in a magical way. So I want to unpack those one line at a time to help you guys write your own mantra. So the first line, I'm connected to everything and everyone. For me, this is like a cosmic group hug. It reminds me I'm connected. I'm part of this. I'm plugged into the whole universe. Now, for you, your words might be different. They need to be words that are a solid yes in your body, so that when you say that first line, it makes your soul say, yes, I belong. So whatever it is for you, it doesn't have to be fancy words. The words are meant to affect your emotional body. So when it makes you feel like you belong, that's your sentence. So first sentence is, I'm connected or I belong. Second sentence is about our worth, which is what you were talking about earlier. So for me, my line was, in this now moment, I am all that ever was, all that is, and all that ever shall be. That's a spiritual statement of God. God is all that ever was, all that is, and all that ever shall be. The presence, the spirit, the self-existent mind energy of the divine. So I'm now identifying myself with God. I am. And again, you might say it differently. It might be, I'm enough. This moment is enough and I'm enough in it. Or for you, it might be different. But whatever it is, let it remind you that you're already whole. There's nothing broken, that you were whole the moment you took your first breath. You don't need to upgrade anything. You just need to uninstall everything that
Ooh,
was never
ooh,
you.
I love that. You don't need to upgrade anything. You just need to uninstall whatever virus was
Yeah.
implanted there.
Yes.
That's
Yes. Yes.
powerful.
But,
So there is, go ahead, go ahead.
well, I was going to say the third line of the mantra, or do you want to ask a
No,
question
no,
now?
no, go ahead, go ahead.
So the third line is for me, the power statement. It reminds me that I'm a creator, right? I create what I want, and what I want comes to me with ease and grace in a magical way.
Yes.
And I would say that, in a lot of spiritual teachings right now, especially in the manifestation teachings, which I think are missing something, want is a bad thing. Well, if I want something, it means that I'm coming from lack. But the etymology of the word want in English is to call something to you, to call it forth. So I think want is very powerful. And when I say that line, it pulls me, I create what I want, pulls me out of comparison and focuses me on, it doesn't matter what Vero's doing or what anyone else is doing. What am I creating? What am I doing now? And as long as
What am I attracting
what am I creating,
and
right? I'm the
creating?
creator of my life
I am the
experience.
creator of my own
I'm
life.
I'm
Yes.
the captain of my ship. I'm creating it. What am I creating? And it's the thing is that I shape my life with my thoughts, my words, and my choices. That's the remembrance that I'm the creator of my life experience. Pulls me out of victimhood, pulls me out of comparison. And the thing is that you may have been victimized. I know your story. There was some stuff that happened to you in your life. We may have been victimized, but your identity, Vero, is not victim. And you don't live like a victim. You live like a creator. My identity is not a victim or trauma survivor forever. So we find ourselves sometimes in a place that we don't want to be, playing a role that we don't want to play. And our mantra becomes like spiritual chiropractic. It just aligns us and snaps us back into the truth that you are a radiant, and this is for everybody, you are a radiant, badass, noble creator of your life experience, and it's time for you to take center stage and create the life that you want. So
My
that's
goodness,
the
I feel like I have to applaud right now. Now, let me just share something here, because you I know we could go on this subject for more than 30 minutes, but just for some final thoughts. In this process of unbecoming, one catalyst for this is our personal healing.
yes.
I was a person who achieved and achieved, and I kept achieving. But one of the things I needed to heal was a relationship with my father.
Mm,
In that sense that if my father didn't love me, if somehow I wasn't loved by the person who gave me life, I had always something to prove so that I would be loved by other people. And it wasn't until I healed that and I completely forgave my father, and then realized in that process of forgiving or forgiveness that I had nothing to forgive. Everyone is doing the best they can with the consciousness they have, and whatever it is and they came to do in this world. And once I let that go and I had nothing to forgive, I was just free to become the creator of my life. And one thing that you said in your speech in France, in your TED Talk speech, was that personal healing allows for global transformation. I think it was something like that. And I
yes,
can
yes.
see that in my personal life. And the process continues. Yeah, we are just in the whole thought of not becoming more, but becoming less. We're just shedding the layers of what no longer serves us.
Amen.
Even the need of anything, even the need for approval, validation. And all there is to do is just to bring or come into the connection of the highest expression of our humanity. So, from that frequency, from that place, we become a beneficial presence in this universe. But
Yes.
I want you to finish this session of the 30 minutes of wisdom by talking about this personal healing or personal transformation becoming a catalyst for global transformation, particularly with everything that is going on in the world.
Yes.
Share some thoughts on that.
Thank you. I want to say quickly, your process of forgiveness and realizing there was nothing to forgive, you know, um, the Aramaic word for forgiveness is shavakin. And shavakin in Aramaic means to pardon or to forgive. But at another level, these ancient languages, the words have many different meanings. Same word can mean the same thing depending on context. And so shavakin also means to unhook a horse from a cart,
Oof.
which I think is so powerful, right? Like there's we're not denying the past. Unbecoming and what you didn't deny the past. It just left it in the past, unhooked from it, and now you're walking forward in your life. Leaving that in the past. That's the process of forgiveness, which is to just say, I'm no longer allowing this. I'm letting go. This is no longer controlling me. I'm no longer a victim to that circumstance or condition. And as we do this, as we continue to excavate and uncover all the stuff that was never, like Michelangelo carving the marble away from David, when we release these false identities and step out of victimhood, we reclaim our power and start creating the lives that we love with real joy and purpose and connection.
Mm.
You know, the world doesn't need more people trying to become something. You look all around and see
Mm.
everybody's trying to become something. The world needs more people free enough to be themselves.
This is a great, this is a great thought, a powerful thought that I want you to repeat one more time. The
Um,
world
the
doesn't.
world doesn't, yes, the world doesn't need more people trying to become something. The world needs more people free enough to be themselves. And when we're ourselves, when we're our authentic self, you know, we make a huge difference. This is how through personal transformation, we become a beneficial presence on the planet and actually do what Gandhi said, be the change we want to see. And I love the story of Indra, the Hindu mythology. Indra is a thunder god who lives high on a mountain where all thunder gods are supposed to live, you know. And so the story goes that Indra casts a net from his mountain across the entire universe. And imagine a multi-dimensional spider web cast across the entire universe. And the story goes that at each intersection of that net, there's a jewel. What does that mean? To me, it means that jewel is us. That's our soul. That's who we are. The truth, the essence of who we are is that jewel. And and we feel guilty sometimes that we get to go on a retreat, or we have the opportunity to sit and meditate, or why am I the one given this and other people can't have it? Well, because other people are running from bombs or looking for water or shelter, it's our obligation to do it. It's our obligation to meditate. We must do it for those who can't. We must heal ourselves for those who can't take that time right now, because as we do that jewel, we're polishing our jewel. And when we polish our jewel, you know, sometimes we feel guilty for shining and being our authentic self. But we don't have to feel guilty for that, because when we shine, we reflect and reveal the brilliance of everyone around us, and we give other people the permission to shine. I'll leave one story that I think is so important to how individual transformation creates global transformation. And that's the story of the 100th monkey. It's a book that was written in the 60s about a group of scientists studying primates and you know, monkey behavior on the islands that were uninhabited off the coast of Japan. And many people might have heard of this story. The process of these scientists was to throw sweet potatoes up on the shore and watch how the monkeys distributed the sweet potatoes and their social interaction. It was like social archaeology. What they noticed was one day, you know, they'd toss the sweet potatoes up on the shore and the sweet potatoes would get sandy and the monkeys would eat them with the sand. Well, one monkey, a female monkey, just saying, she started washing her sweet potato before eating it. And then she taught the monkeys in her immediate family to wash their sweet potatoes. And then they taught their relations to wash their sweet potatoes. And when the 100th monkey on the one island started washing its sweet potato, all the monkeys on all the islands started washing their sweet potatoes. Now, I was telling Reverend Michael Beckwith, the founder of Agape, I was telling him of this story, and he knew the story. He goes, yeah, man, we don't need the 100th monkey. And I go, what? I love that story. He goes, we need the third monkey and the fifth monkey and the 28th monkey, you know, and the 75th monkey. That's us. That's
That's
us polishing our
that's
jewel. And as
that's
we polish our jewel, as we wash our sweet potato and teach others to wash their sweet potatoes, you know, it doesn't take everybody doing it, but consciousness is contagious. And as we do that, we shift the consciousness of the planet, literally. And when we shine, it means the whole world can shine too.
consciousness is contagious, and it is a personal responsibility to shine so that we allow others to shine as well. There is so much happening in the world right now, and our whole intention with restarting this show is for us to remember our humanity.
Yes.
Remember who we are.
Yes.
Remember that we're not our titles. We are not our material possessions. We are not even our names. But there is something that connects us all, which is our humanity and our divinity. And I just wanted to thank you, John Jacob. I mean, as a founder of Ater Tumti Costa Rica here, a holistic resort, we want to take this message from here. We both live in Costa Rica and Guanacaste, take it out to the world and invite people also to our retreats. I know you have one coming up soon. Maybe you need to post it on your LinkedIn so people can go. I think you're going to Peru in May.
Yes, May 29th through June 8th. We're going to Peru. I'd love it if anybody wants to.
Right.
We have a few
Um,
spots left.
Maybe we need to go to Peru with you. But also, we are inviting everyone to come here to Costa Rica to Ater Tunti. And also, we'll be working, John Jacob and I will be working together, my partner, John Jacob and I, to host these retreats for us to shine our light, to shine our jewels, right? This is who we are as humanity. Thank you so much for being here. For all of you who are listening, for all of you who posted some of the comments, it always makes me smile when I see your comments. So thank you again. We'll see you again in another episode of 30 Minutes of Wisdom. Bye bye. Thank you.
Peace and blessings. Thank you, Vero. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.